show today where we make the impossible possible, and the goal is to save the world and to bring best new physics out there into the world, that great new things happen and everything. A lot to cover in this show. To check, there'll be a check on all the plants, how they are doing, progress, evidence about that and everything. I did sort of some research that happened by accident, how people can lose hair when girls shave and so on. The graphene cream that's mentioned in other shows can also do that people lose all their hair because their skin becomes tight and full of energy, so it squeezes the holes through which hairs come out, and then they stop coming out, so the skin returns to being like 12 years old and so on and so on. A little bit that is mentioned in today's show. A big quantum realm explanation about plants, how it's in their atoms, how they're entangled, they give energy to incoming atoms and water that comes in, breaking down of water and so on. All that is a thorough scientific explanation about that in the quantum realm. And also about cancer, how that's going, the plans for cancer. There are new cactus atoms now being enriched, cactuses, new parts of cactuses growing and everything for that especially, so a little bit of that is mentioned even in today's show. The graphene tree has given its first flower, it's pollinized, so very soon turning into a tomato, and a little bit about that as well. A new leaf that glows when sunlight hits it, it glows, and something beautiful, which is also beautiful to make plants like that that are sort of like the Avatar movie, that glow when light hits them and everything. So that is already happening, and so on. Something even very beautiful. It gives great tomatoes, but it is very beautiful even for appearance, like for having around places that plants look beautiful and something like it's in a sci-fi movie or something like that. I have also made an Instagram page, Future at Victoria, and people can follow it. It's going to be always about upcoming shows and everything about that, posts, pictures, how things are going and everything, and about upcoming shows, when they will be, what they'll be about, and so on and so on. So people can subscribe. Many beautiful shows will be in the future, about the sea, about many things, about the true faith. A video is soon going to come out about the true faith without fake people in it, fake people eating it, monks, how they stole the church, how they stole the property of the church from the people in the original church. All people were rightful owners of church property, and everybody equally. In true apostolic Christianity, that's the case, and the video is coming about that. How many fake people in churches, and that's not supposed to happen. How the true church, the Christian church, can be, and without such fakes destroying it, and so on and so on. And here are the tomatoes outside on the terrace, and they're growing. These are one of those kinds that are like they join. This is like 2-3 tomatoes and they form one. You can tell probably from the looks of them what type of tomato is it. They're like those that have lines and are extremely tasty and everything. Sort of pinkish they would become and everything. And right there is one as well. But these are like highly enriched with extremely good stuff and everything, and so on. And they're outside and they're growing great and everything. A lot of flowers are on the tree, so tomatoes coming fast. But it's not even June and tomatoes are growing already, so that's high success and everything. My plan was to get tomatoes in the summertime on all the plants, but many have come a lot sooner. Plus this one is outside, been for like 10-15 days already. Well, more, maybe 20 days, 25 has been outside, and it's giving tomatoes perfectly and everything. Down here is a lot of suckers
that are smaller, but they're almost all of them are giving flowers, and also will be tomatoes very, very soon. But what I did here, I could tell people, many people cut off the suckers, but they leave the leaves on. But here I did the opposite. I would cut off the leaves, which are these, and then what I would get, accelerated sucker growth, and then a lot more tomatoes that brings. Right there is one of those, and it's already turned into flowers. People can always tell, let's say right here, this is a sucker in the middle, and this is a leaf branch. And many people would cut off this sucker and leave the leaves on. But yeah, the plant needs leaves, of course, for gathering sunlight, but not really that much. This is the part that gives the fruit. So sometimes it's smarter to cut this side off and leave the sucker there, and then it'll grow like that a lot faster and better. The suckers will grow, and then a lot more fruit. That means in the end, because right there is one of those versions where I cut off. You can see the dry part right there. That's the cut off leaf, and then the sucker started growing a lot more, and there's already flowers on it, which will be probably very, very fast, just like right there will be tomatoes. So that seems a smarter thing to do, to cut off actually the leaves, and then the plant doesn't send the energy into them anymore, but into the suckers, and that means a lot more tomatoes than one gets, because people can see right there on this tree, that's what's going on. These are all suckers, and they're all growing nicely and everything. Here is also flowers very soon are gonna be. So even this tree that I put outside and everything, it's already giving tomatoes, and well, which are looking very, very good, big and so on, and growing nicely day to day and so on. This part that people saw, the line right there, that's simply because when tomatoes join, they have that dark part that they get later, because they're supposed to be like this, but for some reason the flowers join into one flower, and then one gets a big, big tomato like that. But that's some type of genetic thing. Maybe over centuries people changed it genetically or something, or it's simply that type of tomato. That's how it grows, but it's still good for eating. There's nothing wrong with it. Still can be eaten and everything. And this variety is actually very tasty for salads too. These are new seeds. These grew in like 4 days. This is how much they grew in like 4 days. Special enriched atoms for them. Special greens of the plants go into them because not much is needed, and they grow like a lot fast. I will make a show, the next one, about plants and biology. It will be special about just seeds, germination of seeds, and accelerated growth, how to turn them into plants extremely fast. The other cherries, although these are cherries always grow slower and everything, and they are growing nicely now and everything. So the root system has returned, and they're growing nicely. And the chili habaneros right there are growing nicely as well. There are the two for the cancer, for the cure of cancer attempt. Those are two right there, and these are all going to be different versions of many things in the future shows. And here as well I have made some seeds that I put there just to see will they go to turn into plants. I just put them for fun, didn't really plan on them, but I just thought if it happens, and there they are. Some came out in these past few days. One of these, that one, like in 1 day there was nothing there, and tomorrow it was like that big. So it's going very well. This plant is actually extremely healthy, extremely green. Its leaves look like it's a salad, like it's not even a plant. Like it's extremely well doing and everything. And it has tomatoes on it. It has right there about 5 tomatoes growing already. They're still small and everything, but there are tomatoes growing and everything. And here, flowers and new flowers. They're also turning into tomatoes. But a lot of things I have for this plant, a lot of things went and everything, and there is the same type of plant. Just it broke. It broke. The wind was too strong one day and broke it. But the suckers are regrowing, so it'll just be like bushy. It'll still be okay and everything, but the top part broke. But it's the same kind as this one and everything. And the chili right there is like skyrocketing. This is the one where the tuna fish is, where I started, let's say 10 days ago, I started tuna fish on this one. And it's growing like it's like extremely faster and better than previously. It's like huge what the tuna fish did on it. The leaves are like huge. The suckers now are like right there, very big. These sucker right here on it started a lot of flowers, and they are starting to open up and everything. A huge cluster right there, and that's on a sucker. But chili plants were doing like very slow and everything, and then since I put the tuna fish into this one, it started growing like huge. People can see right there. That's the other ones, how big they were. These I cut off to be bushy, but they were about the size of maybe the top of the sticks and everything, a little bit more. But this one I had to even replace the staff with a bigger one, and it outgrew it and that's like in a few days. It's like huge. 10 centimeters a day it grows, this chili plant now. So the tuna fish is like something extremely good for plants. I haven't tried them on all of them, but on this chili plant, these are the types of chilies that are like bigger, you know, sort of like that. That's that type of plant. The tuna on it seems like it's hugely well doing on it and everything. The growth is like huge, but it's not just a plant, but the suckers as well. It's like very well. The tuna fish, it seems it's something very good. But that's what I thought in the first place when I started it, but I was waiting to do it when the fruit came. So I was waiting for the flowers and then to go tuna fish on it and everything. But if I did it sooner, it would have given fruit a lot sooner and everything and so on. And pretty soon, maybe in 7 days, it'll be to the top, and then it'll have to go sideways again. Although all these plants right here are going outside in these few days. I don't know, is it yet that hot to put them outside? That's why I didn't, but soon they will be so. And the chilies are right there growing. That one is already a chili. It's very small and everything, but they are chilies now growing and everything. So the tuna fish, it seems it's some extremely good thing. But that's what I thought. Tuna fish, when I was researching everything and so on, I realized that the tuna fish is actually a 100% carbon. So that's 100% carbon. Of course, plants need carbon, but the tuna fish carbon atoms are 10 times, maybe 5 times, 8 times bigger, fuller of energy than the ground carbon atoms. And that's the reason why this plant, people can tell right there compared to this one, why it's growing so huge and everything. And simply because the atoms are that much bigger. So it grows maybe 10 times faster now than this one. But I started now on things on this one, and it too is turning into flowers fast and everything. This is the one for strength. This is the one for strength, to give people strength, a lot of strength and everything, sports and everything. And the plan is, if this tomato right here, this chili, sorry, right here, when people eat it, let's say somebody goes into a boxing match and the strength they would have will be actually like they would knock people out in like 10 seconds and 5 people in a row if they wanted. That much strength, like, to be like Mike Tyson in knock people out in 1 round, 2 rounds. But of course they'll be seen in the future, but that's the plan, to give extra strength, extraordinary, but healthy and organic and everything good, of course. Also on this chili plant I had a huge idea. That's garlic right there. I put some garlic in to start it right there, although I didn't want to do garlic because you have to wait like months and months for garlic just to start. But I thought I'll put one there just to try it, and then replant it if it starts growing fast and everything. And another great thing about this one, here will go the creatine and the things in this plant, is the plant, and then it too started to grow a little bit better. But another huge thing, I did some research and found out that garlic, let's say 1,000 years ago, 1,500 years ago, 2,000 years ago, people thought that garlic gave them strength. And I thought then that in those days garlic was a bit more enriched and had really gave people strength. The Romans thought that, the Greeks thought that, it's recorded in history. And then I thought garlic maybe has those possibilities, but yes, it does. Some scientists say it gives many healthy things and everything. So now also what I'm adding to this plant is tons of garlic, because it has that also possibility to enrich and then to give strength and everything. So along with the creatine and things, garlic will be in this plant now doing things and so on. And these chilies right here will be so more things will be added to them to be good and everything. And I'll try to enrich garlic as well. I always wanted to do that, but the physics says you gotta wait like a year just to get one garlic plant. So I thought that was too long and everything. And plus another huge thing that happened today. That's actually right there. That's a lemon tree. But just these greens right here, I mean, people can tell are like extremely healthy and good. These are greens of a potato, and usually they're not really doing so well. All the energy is concentrated on the potatoes, and the greens ain't really that important. But these are looking like very nice and everything. And they too have suckers, I realized, and everything. But that's not really important on potatoes because all the fruit production is underground, not on top and everything. But they're growing and everything, and they have spikes right there, people can see. And that means I could even take this leaf now, cut it off, put it in the ground. Maybe that's the same as for tomatoes, and it would start a new plant and everything. But I didn't put in this pot more than 2 potatoes because I planned for them to be big, and a lot of them and everything. That's why I only put 2. But there are a lot more coming. There will be during the summer and everything. A lot more potatoes. But the reason why the potatoes are growing is because the plant got extreme huge amount of the atoms it needed and everything. And that's why it's growing so fast and so big and everything and so on. And these greens are beautiful because they're made out of those special atoms for potatoes, the special idea. And that means that the potatoes under are gonna be just as beautiful and like as tasty as huge, as tasty as one can imagine. Because how beautiful the greens are, that shows how beautiful the potatoes are under. But these are dark green because they were here longer. This one I was in another pot, and then I put it here, replanted it, because I waited for the greens to grow a little bit. I mean, here they are, that's the French, but from France. That's all I found out at the store. I got these. They said there were some good kind, and I even made a mistake. I wanted to get ones for frying, but these were actually for cooking. But they told me these are okay. These are some special French version. So I got a whole bag of them, the whole bag of potatoes of these. So, and that's what I planted under there. But now I see, okay, that's how fast this potato grew. That's out of especially for potatoes thing that I had planned and everything. And here are the ones for frying, also doing very, very well. That are sort of a red version. But that's huge. In 20 days the potatoes are already there. I mean, I could get this one and already try it, but I think it's dumb. I'm gonna wait till they're big size and everything and then get all of them. Although one I might get in future shows just to see the taste and everything. Maybe this one, just as soon as it gets a little bit bigger. Now it's not really that big. I did dig under a little bit, but it's not really that long. It's maybe it's a few centimeters under, and that's that. So it's dumb to take it out right now, because it should grow. I want to see the full size of it and everything, how big, because my eventual plan was to make it tastier, to make it the best taste. Actually, that was the plan that I had for potatoes. They're gonna be enriched and very good and healthy, but I was actually concentrating a lot more on taste with them. This is something that I thought to point out, also something very good, interesting. Some plants I water with special stuff, and stuff like that stays there and remains. A certain type of stuff, and that's actually penicillin there, right there. Some people say a lot of stuff about plants and everything and so on, and that's a special type of watering that's actually penicillin, and then the plant gets a supply of penicillin atoms. They're in the plant there and everything. Although they are fruit, just chemically changed. I mean, they are matter similar to plants, fruits and everything, but then a plant gets a special type of penicillin in it. And then that, if people have problems with the plants are not healthy and so on, that's a special type of watering that can be done. The whole thing there remains white and everything, and that actually keeps the plant and ground healthy. Bugs run away from it and so on and so on. But also bugs, no, but keeps the plant healthy and gives it penicillin in it, energy and everything. When the water is goes right there, it picks up in special atoms that are penicillin, and they go into the plant and everything. But the plant just reshapes them and turns them into atoms of the plant, and everything. But it's a special type of thing made to make a plant that makes the highest enriched food, to make extra penicillin for it and everything. So some ideas, some plants are that, but that's not something that I thought to go into with the show, because it's too complex and everything and so on. But it's just something to be pointed out. People would come over and they tell me, they think like, oh, that's rotting away, that's bad, it's unhealthy and so on. But that's actually penicillin that makes the plant even healthier, more than even the ground and everything. Just people don't know chemistry and stuff. But that's a sort of way to keep plants healthy and good and everything and so on. Although I did research on those diseases and everything that the farmers say some plants have diseases. Plants actually cannot get diseases. Plants, just things spreads from one place to another. Let's say this leaf is rotting away. Well, then the energy from it goes to this one. Then the energy from it goes to this one. But that's just exchange of energy of some type of atoms, but that's not really a disease. That's just that's a process that happens in the plant. That's not a disease. That's just a change of chemistry of the atoms and everything. But plants cannot get diseases, nor do they have diseases. Anything that can go through the roots is atoms. That means below sizes of any diseases. Diseases are thousand times bigger than the atoms, and by bacteria and diseases and everything, they are all tons bigger than the roots allow, that then the roots take in. Therefore, no disease, no bacteria, nothing can come into the plant through the roots and everything. That's like a special of nature type of thing that is of the plants, that protects plants and everything from such things. But I'll do a special video explanation, a special part that explains what that is when people have spots like that on leaves and they think that it is a disease and everything. That's just an exchange of energy in chemistry, but it's not a disease. Plants cannot get any type of disease. And this is also something that I tried to use before, and I used it on one plant just to see. It's pebbles. If you can see inside, it's pebbles. And this is like supposed to be good for flowers and that bring fruit, you know. And I put this in a pot, just one, to check it out, and I thought to put it like pebbles, and I did it. And then that was that plant right there, the third one, the ketchup one, like a month ago. And then what happened, all the leaves started dropping, like falling, and it was like the plant, it was like looking like it got something the worst ever. The leaves were like that, but they were all falling, started curling up, like extremely bad and bad looking the plant was and everything. And then I realized this is like some crap that's like the worst. And people, I don't know if people will believe this, like without more evidence and everything and so on, but I think this is like huge and going so great. And we're gonna live longer, be stronger, be younger for a long time and everything. I think now I know the physics, and for sure that's gonna be and everything. So this is like huge, that everything is going so good and everything. So a lot of evidence is showing that the physics is actually extremely correct and everything. So this is like, it's like great. So I just thought to show that, to zoom in so that people can see right there. This is one of my leaves of my plants when it's outside. It went dry like that. And people can see right there, only some parts of the atoms went dry. But even there, the green ones did not. See, so that's the dry ones there, and that's the green ones in between that simply cannot go dry. So that's evidence right there that the green ones, thick ones right there, the people see, that's actually enriched atoms. So they cannot go dry, and that's that. They're enriched, full of energy. That means they cannot go dry. Even if the leaf, some parts are going dry, but that's simply because it's in land. From one point of view, this dry parts right here, that's the land. Because still, whatever I water with, it's still some of the land has to go in. Tomatoes have to be in land or they will not grow. But some ways I plan to change that in the future, to put bottles in the pots and everything, and some roots just take in liquids without any land. But right there, that's evidence. Even if these parts of the leaf went dry, these green ones cannot go dry because they are enriched atoms, and that's that. So that's evidence right there, 100% evidence that enriched atoms change everything, change the whole biology of plants for a lot better and everything and so on. And that's evidence, even if these around went dry, that's just they lost their moisture and water doesn't pass through now these parts of the leaves. In these green ones, there is still water there, and there is energy in them, and they remain green longer than these other ones, and that's that. So now is the full garden tour to explain everything step by step. These tomatoes here have just been put outside, and they are very slowly, but since I put them outside they started to kick in and return. Suckers started growing nicely and so on and so on. They are a separate version from the others and everything. I had problems with them. They were all small like this and everything, but perhaps that's because they were inside and everything. Since I put them outside, they are kicking in and starting to grow nicely. Because tomatoes in general, they grow outside, and better are supposed to be outside. The next step is the cucumbers. The cucumbers started to work. I had a lot of problems fertilizing the flowers and everything, but it has to be done multiple times and everything. But they started now, and that's precisely when they should, because some people say that cucumbers, one should not even get to start on them before summer and so on. So June just started, and so did they. So all summer long they'll give fruit and everything. And there is lots of them on the vine. Just to show people, these flowers, like right there, they don't give cucumbers and so on. But when they see flowers like this, that's a cucumber. When they see flower like this, that's not a cucumber, and so on. And then bees come over, they take pollen from this one to this one, and then a cucumber starts, in case people don't know. So that's fertilizing the flowers. I had trouble with that, but it's all good now and growing. And this is the biggest cucumber on the vine, and many are in these clusters that are growing very, very nicely. But people can tell the cucumber is all the way down there, growing very nicely and everything. The leaves are nice, growing nicely and everything. So it's right on time, on summertime and so on. Cucumbers are too enriched, these, but mostly they are made out of cucumbers and everything. Cucumber is mostly water, but cucumber water is enriched water, and these are made out of that mostly. So cucumbers are perfect for that, for watering other cucumbers. But if people don't know, they can just examine nature. If one is watering cucumbers, then he uses cucumbers. If he waters tomatoes, then he uses tomatoes and everything. And everything rich that's from a tree, that goes into the tomato. And then people know they are giving the plant and tomatoes everything they need. And the cucumbers are doing nicely. I fertilized all of these. One small one is right there, so they are starting to do well and everything. But these clusters at the end of a vine, that's basically where the cucumbers grow mostly and everything. There's a big one right there. And I didn't prune this cucumber. All of these clusters that grow, I left it to grow and everything and so on. So they're growing all over the place. There's about 7, 8 right now on the plant, but right on time and everything. And all the other flowers I pollinated. There's one right there, very nice one, growing as well. But those are enriched from cucumbers. So twice as good as a cucumber. And in the summer we'll be pickling episodes and cucumbers done and everything and so on. So to move on to the tomato. And so people know that watering cucumbers with cucumbers from a blender, the water from a cucumber is perfect for that. It makes a big plant, enriched fruit and everything. And that's perfect for everything, because it is 90% water is a cucumber, so that's perfect, like very, very good for this process. But in general, that's how it's done in nature. A cucumber would fall to the ground and start breaking apart. Water would pick up those atoms and they return into a cucumber naturally, if it was not touched by people or animals. And there people can tell naturally how that process goes and everything. So to move on to the tomatoes, these tomatoes are a secret recipe. beautifully working and everything. They're a totally secret recipe, and they are growing extremely well on that process. One big one is right there too, and these are actually the biggest ones growing and so on. There's many of them, little ones, big ones. There's the color of the tomato, so it shows that it's going to be a two-color tomato, which are much more tastier and more expensive and everything, and are for eating and so on. And these are simply for salads going to be, these tomatoes. Good for salads, tasty, and so on and so on. And they're growing all over the place right there as well. Many small ones, some bigger ones. They're growing fast, huge. This one, actually, the biggest one right there, it doubled in size in like 1 day. 1 day was sort of like that, and it doubled in size in 1 day just. And that was like a cool thing that happened from there. So it's going great, as people can see. And here people can see as well, I cut off the bottom leaves, which many people say, which some say they cut off bottom suckers. But I cut off bottom leaves, and there are fertilized flowers right there growing as well. See, now that's because I water a plant with highly rich stuff, and then that is simply to get more tomatoes. But people can cut off suckers if they want to, especially in the bottom. That's nothing wrong with that. That will just give fruit on top more and faster. So it's the same thing basically, but I did cut off some suckers and everything and leaves, but I left these as well down there. And people can see right here now, this leaf, this is a leaf never seen before. Now people can see, well, I'll show it later again once the sun hits it. It's early now during the day, but when sun hits this part of the terrace, these leaves start to glow and everything because of the things they're made out of. These leaves were never before seen in human history, probably, and they're a beautiful thing because they are made out of especially different things. Right there, maybe people can tell a little bit that it looks like it's out of a science fiction movie or something, but I'll show that once the sun hits it, because then people can see the glow and everything. So to move on further and so on, these are the potatoes, and these potatoes they were planted about let's say about 20 days ago, 25 days ago, and the one seen right there, that's one that's growing. So people can assume how much under they are growing. The potato is deep underground, like half of this pot. The potato is right there, deep underground, and it has this vine. One little bit bigger one was broken accidentally, but the potatoes are growing fast. This potato even came out of the ground like yesterday and so on, and the seed was planted like about 25 days ago, and they are growing extremely fast. So this potato, the math I did, it grew about 100 grams, now even more, in 22 days. And one can see that one right there under. That means people can assume how much they are under, a lot more of them, and so on and so on. The ones that are closer to the potato seed are bigger probably, and so on. The one next to it right there it was planted at the same age, but the height is different. I put it a little bit higher because I thought to cover all this with more land so that it goes up and everything. But this one right here, I am waiting for these greens to be a little bit bigger and then to cover those and these at the same time and everything. Potatoes are great going and everything, extremely fast, extremely good. So even accelerated growth of potatoes has been discovered. It does not need flowers to start potatoes. It started potatoes like extremely fast. So the whole thing is like beautiful, going very well. People can see by these greens, they are made out of the same stuff. They are like beautifully green. Nothing wrong on them. Very good and going very great. These are another potatoes. They are the same thing, slightly different, because these are for frying potatoes, red potato seeds, sort of, but for frying. These are for cooking, although I'm changing them to be totally something else, and these are for frying. These I planted even after, maybe 10 days after these. These I planted even after, but it's growing like extremely good. People can see there by the stem and everything. Color is different because it's a different type than these, different type of potatoes, but growing same, huge, very well. These potatoes are maybe around 15 days old, and this is how much they grew. But these two did not grow as much as these. They're the same kind and everything, but for some reason these two are going slower, these are going faster. They're the same depth and everything. But now I assume I should cover this with more land, because it's gonna go all the way, let's say, to there. Has to be land and everything. So, and then more potatoes will come and everything. So accelerated growth for potatoes has been discovered. So a lot faster harvests and everything. I am guessing, but for sure that's gonna be, these potatoes will be done in, let's say, 15 days. It's gonna be done and they're gonna be taken out, and shows will be on that, how they are, how they look, how big they are and everything, and eating them, making out of them french fries, cooking them and everything, to see the taste and everything. Because the most important part about the potatoes, sorry, I did not plant them anything different than especially for taste. So the plan for them was especially the best taste a potato can have. That was the plan. Many of the plants are for health and long life and everything and so on, but the potatoes are made, thought up specially to be the tastiest ones possible and so on. And then all the things that potatoes, all the things that are made out of potatoes, that will be tested and seen and tried and eaten and so on, to see this way how it goes. But the most beautiful thing is accelerated growth. People just saw that potato that grew in like 25 days, and it's on top. So that's accelerated growth going well. And this is the tuna tree. People can now see it's about 2 meters and 2 meters 70. The tuna tree is right there, which is a local chili and everything. They are growing nicely right there and everything. Some of the plants parts, which are the fruit and everything, but it's growing extremely huge. And to simplify that, tuna is a carbon atom that's 8 times has more energy, 8 times bigger. Therefore the plant grows 8 times faster and so on. But I have to prune now this whole plant. These plants are supposed to be pruned more. I did these days. I cut off some of the parts just to stop that. I let these little suckers there go, but I assume to cut them off, the bottom parts, because they're too small and they're sucking up energy. But the ones that are bigger and are gonna give fruit, like these two right there, those I'm gonna leave. So I have to prune now this one and this one. So since I started with the tuna, the plant went like overboard. It started growing fast, like extremely fast. And the fruit right there has gotten bigger and everything. And the whole plant, that's evidence, people can see that, is growing like huge. It starts from there and goes all the way up that way. And summer has not even begun yet, so. This one, there is no tuna, so people can tell the difference there, how much this one is growing more since I started it. When the fruit came, I started going with tuna because I didn't want to waste it just on the plant, but that it gives enriched tuna. So the point is that the fruit is made out of tuna and gives rich fruits and everything. But one cannot escape that. Whatever one waters with, it goes into the whole plant. That's how it is and everything. But now I'm gonna cut off many of the pieces so that, to prune some parts so that a lot more energy goes into the flowers and a lot more fruit comes and everything. There is also one of the fruits right there growing, and so this plant is going great, going great. So tuna is a beautiful, beautiful thing, but when it is blended and made, one has to assume and make sure that it's all a liquid. It does not put in all the other parts and everything, because see, that's what I got right there, and that now I have to take away and throw away, because I watered it a few days ago, actually yesterday, but I have to remove that now because all these parts of tuna are the ones that are big, and so I don't need it there. Yeah, water would pick it up, but it would start to go bad and everything and so on. But one should prefer, when he's doing this, that the land is clean, just like there one can see, because then it would start to rot away, bugs would come, and so on and so on. So those are some of the problems. I left this just to show people. This is of tuna now right there. But one can assume to take the foam and just that put in the plant, and that it's always clean like that. But if a person gets that, that's easy. You just take one of the shovels or something, throw it away, and it's no big deal. But the tuna, to water a plant with tuna, because it's a carbon atom, highly enriched. Tuna meat, I mean, from a can. I use the tuna fish from a can, which is mostly carbon. That's huge for plants. Gives them extremely accelerated, fast, and bigger growth. But the whole point is that happens to the fruit, to get them a lot bigger and healthier and everything. So this fruit right here, by estimates, by math, says that it will be 8 times bigger and 8 times healthier than it would be made out of other things and so on. But one should assume that one should make sure that only carbon of the tuna goes in. The other parts are bigger, so they would just be thrown away. But the whole point is to get most of the carbon, and that's the foam. When it's done in a blender, that's the foam that one sees on top. That's individual carbon atom. So here we are on the ketchup tree. If people saw in a previous video the ketchup tree, how it's watered and everything, people can go back to that and see and everything. And I thought to show people right there. I made big mistakes here. It's totally dark. That's a totally small tomato right there, and it's dark inside. So it's made entirely out of sauce. And I turned on the climate and left it, and all the parts right there started to curl up. So sauces, it seems, are not good at all. One next to it I cut off to examine what was going on with it and everything, and it seems that it's a problem. So sauces have preservatives in them and everything, and that's a whole problem. They cannot change, they don't go into the plant nicely and everything. But only these 2 tomatoes I would throw away and everything. People can see right there that it's dark inside. That's because that's all sauce. So the tomato is already red, so it's ready for eating. But the temperature totally will destroy it if it's too hot. So these tomatoes through sauce could be made in some controlled temperature environment, but here no. I mean, they're okay, but the whole flower, people can tell right there, started curling up and everything. It was too hot for it because that ketchup sauce its chemistry was changed. It was cooked, and as soon as it's cooked, the atoms are higher. They expand, their chemistry is different, and it seems it's not good at all. Not a good idea to use sauces. So people can see that video that I made on sauces, the ketchup watering, but it's a bad idea. So tomatoes are good because they're fresh and they are the right atoms, but all the rest of the plant is doing fine and everything, all the other ones. But these 2 right there were made just of the sauces. One I cut off to see what's going on, and people can tell right there inside it's dark red, dark red. So I would need some cold temperature to make them out of sauces, a special version, but that will be in September once I open up more facility. And there people can see what I got from the sauce. That's one tomato that was very, very small. But I turned on the climate at night so that it would be hot for all the plants and everything, the temperature they need to grow. But these tomatoes, since they have preservatives in them and since they were cooked, they cannot cope with that. They go totally differently because their chemistry is totally differently. So to use sauces, it doesn't work out, it seems. In a special environment with a special temperature, maybe it can work out as something good and everything. They would need some cold temperature to be in because these atoms inside them is very, very hot and different temperature because they have that chemistry and those the energies in them because they were cooked and preserved and so on. But to say so sauces are not good for this process, it seems. But other tomatoes will be used that are good for ketchups and everything. But the rest of the plant is fine. As people can see right here, the other tomatoes are green and doing good and everything, growing. And even if some of those atoms got in there, all the energy that's cold in these tomatoes will preserve them and change them to grow nicely and everything. And so that's about that. The whole plant overall is still doing fine and everything. But the reason why that's going on is because they have a different temperature in them. These dark red tomatoes now, because they're made of sauce. They have a different chemistry, different temperature in the quantum realm, and they're not growing that well. So, but tomatoes are, of course, and other things growing very well. But that's just to point out, the quantum realm tomato sauces are not good. So. Basically, they have a different temperature in the quantum realm, the atoms themselves, and they're not good for this process. So, a whole quantum realm explanation about the plants coming up when they come into when atoms come into the plant, what happens through the stem and everything. So, stay tuned. Out here, this is the version where I did tropical fruits on a plant and many other things. And the leaves are totally different. I showed in the start the same type of these plants. That's the big tomatoes growing outside. But these leaves, people can see, are totally something different by color and by size and everything. Because these were watered totally with different things. So it's the same plant, but making something 1,000 times different than the other one. It is growing well and everything, but all the leaves are half yellow and half dark green. And this is not bad yellow, as people would assume that it's something bad. This yellow that people see is actually made from tropical fruits and some other things and everything. But the plant is healthy and doing great and everything. This is simply those atoms that are of the fruit. They are enriched fruit atoms, tropical fruit, therefore their color is bigger and stronger than the green of the leaf. So they remain the color and temperature they are, which is good for the plant anyway and everything, and that's what's going on. Because some people would think those are diseases or something, but that's totally incorrect. Because this is the same species of plant that I showed earlier, but I watered it with totally different things, and totally different things are going on. But this one too will give fruit during the summer. Planned, it is a bit slower, but that's because it's still on the inside and it's going out soon and everything. There were some strong winds, so I only put some plants out. But it is something beautiful to understand and everything. The same plant it is, but totally different atoms, totally different chemistry, and so on and so on. And that will be some special tomato that will be tasty, like in a totally different way, sort of tropical fruit tomato, so on and so on, enrichment type. And the natural tree growing naturally, all the suckers and everything, it's all over the place. I don't even know what to do with it. I tie this there, this is going this way, that's going that way, these are going that way. It's huge. Like, I don't know what to do. Where am I gonna go? Some pieces are going from one side like that to the other and so on. So it's going all over the place. and it's like falling down, and I'm letting that on purpose because that's how it naturally goes. And but it did not break. I was looking for that. This one is going this way from there and everything, but overall it's doing great and everything. The tomatoes right there, people can see, are growing nicely and everything, healthy and so on. I sprayed the plants these days with organic spray, of course, and everything. And yes, the fruit needs more time to be ready for eating, because there is a lot of the fruit around hanging, and but that's okay. When they are ready, they are ready. The summer has just begun, so and the more tomatoes there are, the more energy goes into all of them, is spread evenly on them and everything. Therefore, they might not be ready as soon because there are so many of them. But this is that type of experiment. It's growing naturally, how it is naturally made, supposed to, and that's that. So this is that type of experiment. And there's the cancer chilies, habanero chilies right there growing. These are yellow habanero chilies. I recently got red ones. I'm gonna go with them as well to plant them. And these are the two, people can tell by the difference in land color. These two are for the cure of cancer and everything. Two plants that are separated from that, now watered with cactus, enriched cactus, and so on, to give the best cure for everything. And this is very beautiful. A person comes over, eats two of these chilies, and cancer falls apart and it's destroyed. That's the whole plan and everything. And so far it's going okay. The plants are growing and are natural, but when the fruit comes, that's the important part and everything. And there is like the biggest chili right there growing nicely as well. So they are growing nice and going well. And to say about this, you know, cancer is an important thing. And if people see it who have cancer, quantum realm knowledge can really lead to that, to easily cure cancer, like it's not so hard. The chemistry, temperature of molecules and atoms and everything, who knows, that can really make that and cure cancer very, very easily. Of course, that's important to help out to people in need who maybe have cancer and everything, and that will be fully explained in the show, the whole process, how it's made, and so on, so that that people can reach it as fast as possible. But through quantum realm knowledge, making that fruit that kills cancer is even very easy once quantum realm is understood properly and everything. Because in the quantum realm, cancer is like something like some tiny little marble that's filled with some liquid and sticks to itself, but not so strongly. So it is very easy to cure, but a lot of effort and very, very good things are going into it because of people who need the cure fast and everything. The cactuses that it's watered with will be enriched even, so they will not be ordinary cactuses, but they will even be enriched cactuses. So that makes then that a lot better and faster to reach the cure and everything. And I'm doing everything I can there to reach that as fast as possible and everything. And here is the new cactus parts that I made. Enriched cactus parts, watered totally different than people do it. And this is the new cactus part right there, growing new, that I made and everything. That is gonna be enriched highly and everything, just for the cancer cure and everything. So that's them growing right there, one there, and here a totally little one, but it's accelerated growth as well for cactuses, because it's growing very fast. This grew maybe in 10 days, maybe not even that much, even less than that. So if people see this who have cancer and everything, I'm doing everything I can on it and doing it very, very fast, trying even accelerated growth on cactus enriched so that it produces the energy it needs to kill cancer a lot faster and everything, and that those chilies give those fruits and that it's then tested on people and everything. And there's the garlic growing and everything. This is how much it grew in a few days. Just no, these parts are coming out already, and these parts extended up and everything. Garlic actually grows very, very slowly. It takes a long, long time for it to produce fruit. But this way it's growing faster and better and so on. It seems this is my first garlic doing and everything, but it looks good and everything, and the growth shows progress and everything. But the plan for it is like great, very, very huge. A person eats some of these garlics, he goes, let's say, into a boxing match or something, he could probably knock out 5 people in 5 seconds, basically. In, let's say, a round, he would knock out 5 people, not one, because of the enormous strength, speed, and everything. So for sports, a huge thing, and that could revolutionize sports and everything.
So this is the explanation about the inside the stem, how things go on when new atoms come into the plant and everything. So this represents the stem. These are the outer parts, and these are the inner parts, which billions of them are in one stem of a plant. And those are highways where atoms go when they enter into the plant. So first to point out here, these are on the surface of it, on the outer sides of the stem, are molecules of carbon. Carbon, which is entangled to hydrogen, and that's the wood part. Although it has nitrogen in it too while it's green, but when the stem turns dark and woody, that means that the carbon and hydrogen have taken over. Molecules of carbon and hydrogen, thousands of hydrogen, many different versions and so on in many different plants, but a lot of hydrogen entangles to carbon, and that's the wood part. So that's outside parts here, and these little circles which represent atoms are those entangled to each other. So carbon and hydrogen, there's nitrogen there as well. So these atoms that are here, like circles crossed over, they represent enriched atoms. So because my plants are not made like ordinary wood or ordinary stems, but have also enriched atoms in it. So it has cactus in it, it has egg atoms in it, it has tomato atoms in it, and they made the whole stem. But the purpose of those enriched atoms is to enrich the atoms as they pass through there. So as they pass through, that's one of the things to point out. They pass through highly enriched atoms, which are cactus, eggs, tomatoes, and then that energy from all those atoms, it feels the atoms passing through it here, which these highways are liquids of flowing that flow inside the plant. So those are the entrances into the plant, which billions of them there are in one stem, even more than billions. On the other parts are entangled carbon and hydrogen, which is hundreds of hydrogen entangled to many carbon atoms and so on. Then when water first comes in, water comes in as H2O. The plant, these lanes in the plant, highways, they break water apart. And according to the energy that's in here, because that too decides the temperature inside the plant and in here and so on. And in here it's a lot colder than outside the plant, of course. Then H2O, water, breaks into oxygen and to hydrogen. People know that already. Hydrogen also is primarily made to make the seed, because the seeds carry the genetic DNA information of the plant, and people know DNA strands are made out of hydrogen, of course. So that's the explanation of the stem. These are like highways where atoms enter and molecules. Trillions of them in one stem, billions and billions. These filled circles represent nitrogen atoms, which are cold and dark nitrogen atoms. But the nitrogen atoms I used came from greens, therefore enriched twice, 3 times. Some are cactus, some are many, many things. Therefore, even they, plus these carbon atoms and everything, are enriched. So as the atoms flow through, plus they are enriched, they will become enriched even more and so on. So water comes in as H2O. The temperature in here is very important as well. The nitrogen, of course, cools it down and everything. And in here, it's always colder than the outside of the plant. Water comes in as H2O, breaks down into oxygen and to hydrogen. Hydrogen is used to make these outside parts, of course, and to make the seed. The seed carries DNA, genetic information, the whole factory of a plant. These lanes, the breaking down water into many, many different atoms, into nitrogen, into oxygen, into hydrogen. All of that, the whole plant, the design, the look of the fruit, the look of the leaves, every entanglement of every atom, it all fits inside one seed. And it's written, and there it is on hydrogen made and so on DNA strands. So now I suspect my seeds will have totally some different genetic breakdown. Seeds I already have from tomatoes that have grown. Seeds first grow, then later the rest of the tomato. So I already have seeds who I suspect are genetically superior, genetically better than past tomato plant seeds. And that's all written on hydrogen DNA. But the hydrogen DNA strands that I have in my seeds are some enriched version now. So, and that I love. I can't wait to see what's going to happen when I plant those seeds and how they're going to do and everything. But the tomatoes are growing. When they're ready for picking, when they are red and ready, then I pick them and so on. Some I just took to examine what is going on inside and everything. So H2O comes in and it breaks down into oxygen and to hydrogen. Hydrogen goes into the seed and into the wood mostly, which is carbon entangled to hundreds of hydrogen. That's one molecule of wood, you could say, but that's not a molecule, you could say, because it's solid matter and it's a lot of them entangled to each other. But wood is actually entangled molecules, to explain it simply. Then oxygen goes on. Some go out through the leaves, that enriches the earth with clean and enriched oxygen. That's why when you go into a forest, the air there is better, healthier and so on. That is simply because oxygen has passed through these lanes and had become enriched. So we get better oxygen. So through this science we can even make some enriched oxygen. That will probably give people life extended and so on, just enriched oxygen. But the whole great idea would be to make forests like this all over Earth and return Earth to that greatness with health and everything. Acceleration is happening in all fields of physics and science and so on, but to do that even in biology and make Earth very healthy and very great is a great idea. Then the oxygen breaks down into one hydrogen and one nitrogen. And that's where the nitrogen goes, basically into the greens. So it goes into the fruit, it goes into the greens, and it goes into these lanes that make the cold temperature in these lanes, and those nitrogen atoms to enrich the atoms that go through. And all atoms here and here and throughout all these lanes are entangled. Even from here to here, from here to here, just through entanglement matter passes easily. So I'm working on now how to accelerate that. So when atoms and water molecules come into the stem of into the wood, into the plant, I mean the whole plant, I am planning to accelerate it. And I sort of did that a little bit already with some tomatoes that I showed in the show, the one that doubled in 1 day. So the growth is very fast and better, that is correct. But is it because the atoms are faster? It is not. It is simply because it is made out of enriched, better atoms. So that's why, of course, bigger atoms, well, bigger the growth is obviously. But I'm working on now how to accelerate that the atoms flow faster and make everything faster. But with the potatoes, that's already happening. Because the potatoes are being made, but there too it is because it's bigger atoms and everything. So, but I'm also planning to figure out how to, so when atoms and molecules come into these parts, that they flow faster. But if they flow faster, less energy they'll get then. So the speed is simply the genetic design of the plant. Then also what happens is the energy of atoms that come in, which is carbon, calcium, protein, so on and so on, vitamins and so on and so on, because I water a plant with whole tomatoes and many things, cactuses that people know. So these atoms here too are some enriched ones. In some plants tuna, in some plants cactuses and so on and so on. And like I showed that leaf in today's show, that too shows how in the desert we can make plants then easily, some evidence towards that. Because even if the rest of the part of the leaf went dry, the enriched green atoms are rich and full of moisture and they cannot go dry anyway. And that is some good evidence to point towards making plants in the desert is some of the first evidence, which is very good. So the enriched atoms come in, carbon, calcium and so on, and carbon atom, so let's say tuna fish, it comes into here. But all these atoms that are carbon right here are already tuna fish in some of the parts, let's say, of the plant of tuna. So as the tuna heavy big atom comes in as carbon, all these atoms here are filling it even more with energy, and they are a lot richer than in any other plant anywhere, most likely. So that tells people how much more it becomes enriched in, let's say, 10 hours, how long it takes for it from the root to come to the fruit. Let's say 10, 12 hours is atom by atom, how they go, so on and so on. But that also tells you the bigger the stem is, the more atoms can pass through it and everything and so on. So as tuna fish comes in, it is enriched with all these atoms here, billions, billions, trillions of them that are in the tree. So then that even means the higher the fruit is, the longer it'll go through all these enriched atoms. But the whole point is, all the atoms are exchanging energy amongst each other. They all have the same energy because it's a liquid and it is flowing through everything, but it is mostly nitrogen and green and carbon is the explanation. So this is what I thought to explain, just so that people know when they're doing this, how to understand the quantum realm is very smart than to know more about what one is doing when he's making the plants and watering. The seed, I just pointed out, the seed is so much information, no computer on earth can fit so much information into it, because this is quantum realm DNA genetic information that makes the plant, that makes the breaking down of water in the quantum realm, all the atoms, all the shapes of the plant, how it grows and so on. So much information is like huge, and it fits into one tiny little seed. It is like beyond compare how much that is complex. I mean, we never made anything on Earth, was never made anything so complex that can do this quantum realm factory anywhere on Earth, because this is all about the quantum realm and everything. Smart thing to point out is the nitrogen there that one gets from water. So when water is made in a blender, like people seen in shows, then the water already mixes with all the juices in the blender. So if it's one tomato and water in a blender, they then mix when the tomato sauce, when the tomato juice is in the blender, all the energy is coming out of it and going into the water. That is sort of similar like wine, let's say. Wine has 14% alcohol and the rest grapes and a little bit some things for taste. But the longer they sit together, the more energy they exchange between each other. Alcohol energy comes into the grapes and grape energy come into the alcohol, and they mix, and that's wine. So, and the more that goes on, the better tasting the wine is. So the older it is, of course. So that same thing happens in a blender, of course not as much because it's a shorter period of time, but that same thing happens in a blender when everything is whizzed with the water even in the blender becomes enriched with energy. And then enriched already, it's coming into the plant, and there people can understand how much that is better that way and everything. And one more thing I thought to point out, this was actually even an accident. Right here people can see my hand. Right here the hair stopped growing, which was even by accident because I put the tape here and squeezed the hand with tape when the graphene creams were on, and the hair has really stopped growing. So the skin right here is about 15 years old, so to speak, 14, 15 years old. And that's smart to point out. When people apply the graphene cream, take tape and tape over your hand and squeeze it tight so that fully the energy goes into the skin. And that's nice to point out if girls, you know, girls, they always shave, they don't want hair on their hands, on their feet, well, on their legs and so on. So that's really cool to point out as well. And accidentally it happened, but that's because I applied tape there and it was squeezing the hand, and then a lot more energy went into right here into the skin, and the hair has really stopped growing. People can see right there that sort of there's no hair anymore growing. But that's simply because the skin is filled with energy a lot more. The skin is filled with energy a lot more, and the hair cannot come out anymore because the skin is too thick, and the hairs do not grow anymore. They stop because the hole through which the hair needs to come out is too small, and the hair cannot grow anymore. So that's even evidence there, and that graphene creams work and everything. And something that girls will probably love a lot because they hate shaving, you know, every week and so on and so on. So just to zoom in there, that people see there in the middle, there's no hair really. There's tiny little bits of it, but it's not coming out anymore in many of these parts. So tape, one just applies and squeezes it a lot after he puts the graphene cream on. There people can see very clearly now. And the skin then fills with energy a lot, and hair cannot anymore come through. So that stops the hair, and the skin returns, let's say, to around 14, 15, and hairs don't grow anymore when it's done properly and for some time. So now I'm doing it that way and so on. I figured that out, and this was an accident. Actually, I didn't even plan on that. But the whole point is, it evaporates. Atoms evaporate into the air before they even get to the skin. So the point is that there people can see. So the point is that the cream is put on, and then some type of plastic over and duct tape then to squeeze it so that it all goes fully into the skin, the energy, and returns that. So something very beautiful, great, and beautiful in physics to do and to tell people. So, but it's working out. It's working great. So there's the graphene tree. It is growing beautifully and everything. It's like 2.5 meters almost now, around 2.5 meters, so growing fast and everything. And a short explanation about it today, it has a flower, fertilized, and tomato growing starting right now. So in a few days it'll be a tomato, and that will be followed and explained in future shows.
the best possible energies in it to give youth. So that is the plan for this tree. The best in physics that comes up with is gonna be in these tomatoes. So the watering will be like the best possible in physics things that I know of. And the other two graphene trees are right there, also growing nice and everything, with slight changes compared to this one, but this one is growing beautifully and extending very well now and everything. And so is this one too, which is the same type of plant as the graphene one. And this one is like the curly tomatoes that shown outside, that are like double, and so on and so on. And the flowers on it too are starting, so they're gonna turn into tomatoes very soon. So all three plants here are sort of the same thing, but slight differences and so on, but are of graphene made, and so on and so on. So there it is. That's about how it glows and everything. And but it's a lot better in sunlight and everything. Now it's just a little bit because there isn't that much light, but I'll show that in another show when it's a lot better and everything. People can sort of little see right there the glowing. That's the parts that the leaves are made out of and everything and so on. Sort of it glows and everything. When light hits it, it stays there and everything and so on. Now I'm using some light just to show those little spots. Yeah, right there, so people can see right there how it is and everything. So something very beautiful, and with some lights can be a beautiful plant just for its looks and everything. Something like the Avatar movie, sort of going in that direction, because it can be used on many other plants and done and so on and so on. So something very beautiful and going toward that, like science fiction, something. There people can see all the things that light up and everything.